Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Dwayne, and today we're going to be creating a preset on the Quad Cortex of how to get those ambient spacey wet djent cleans. So you might be familiar with these from like bands like Periphery. I guess most famously actually, even though I wouldn't call them djent, I guess they're thall. Viljata have these amazing kind of jangly ambient cleans. So today I'm going to show you how to do that. I think I've heard them described as Milton cleans before, but whatever you call them, basically I call them like ambient spacey cleans pretty much. So what we're going to try and do is replicate this. I've got my guitar here. It's the PRS SVN Mark Holcomb model. It's the older one. I think he's released another one, but it's got the Alpha Omega passive pickups in there, and you can hear that it's currently there's nothing. So we're going to open up Cortex Control. I've already named it. I've called it Moist Space. We're not going to use a noise gate just yet because we might not need it. One thing we are going to do is add in an amp. Now, if you're doing cleans, there is quite a few good options on here. It is really hard to look past the Roland Jazz Chorus. It's like it's the chef's kiss of clean amp models basically. But we're going to put some bass settings in here and we want it to be bright. There's no cab in here, so this is going to sound a little bit weird, but the reason we're putting this at the end of the chain as well is because I've got to put like a compressor and some other stuff in there. We're going to use, there might be a Roland Jazz Chorus stereo. Yep, we're going to use the 212. We're not even going to touch the cab settings. We're just going to keep it as is. I think I'm in drop B tuning by the sounds of it, so it's such a beautiful sounding amp. So now we've got our bass amp sound. We're going to build upon that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a compressor in there. So for those nice cleans, we want like a nice compressor in there just to kind of even out the dynamics and kind of keep things sounding nice. For the threshold, we're going to put that at -25 because we want to catch the peaks, but we don't want to over compress the sound. Ratio, so for the attack, we're going to put that around 50 milliseconds. That's going to preserve the initial pick attack. We may even go lower. For the release, we're going to put that at 200. So that'll give us a natural decay. Makeup, we're going to keep that at 8 for now. And for the mix, we're going to put that down to around about 80. So we're going to that'll give us. And how about chords? Might take the makeup down a little bit. Okay, that sounds pretty nice. I'm going to move this because I'm actually going to put a late reverb in now. We're going to put a lush one in there because the sound that we're going for, just to refresh, I have similar to that type sound. We may not get it exactly like the Viljata, but we are going to have a wet, spacey clean, and that's what we want. So for the plate lush, we want that to be around about 50%. Now for the decay, we want that to be relatively high. That's going to give us a long, spacious reverb. Pre-delay, we're going to put that down to 30. That's going to separate the reverb from the dry signal. For the LF damping, we're going to keep that at 50%. HF damping, we'll keep that at 50. And for the mod depth, we're going to bump that one up too. It's going to add some texture into it. We will also keep trails on. So let's hear how that sounds now. We should be starting to get a little bit closer. So that's got a nice space sound to it already. What we're going to do as well is we're going to add in the sound. It has a very distinctive delay. So we're going to add an analog delay. Whoops, I picked the wrong one. Digital delay. Digital delay would actually work. but we're going to add in an analog delay. I'm going to keep the mix at 35%. So that'll make sure the repeats are noticeable, but it doesn't dominate. Now for feedback, we want this to be kind of a little bit over the middle. So we'll try like 55. You may have to adjust that. This is going to give us a nice number of repeats, basically. We're going to turn the sync off. For the delay time, I think we'll keep that at 500. So that'll give us a nice spacious feel, I guess. For the mod rate, we're gonna dial this up to 2. So that's going to give us, I guess, a subtle modulation. You can see we're not quite like towards the middle, I guess. For the mod depth, we're going to put that up as well to around about 30%. It's going to give our repeat a little bit of character. Now on our high pass, we're actually going to put that down to 100 because we want to avoid some of the mud. And then the low pass, we're going to bump that up to 10,000. That's going to tame some of those high frequencies that we don't want. Jangly, wet, clean sound that nice if we have those. So the thing with this sound is you can hear it's got that spacey, clean sound about it now that you may associate with some of your favorite bands. It's reliant on how hard you pick. So if you're, and also what pickups you're using and whatnot. But if I pick lightly, you can hear it. Now if we pick hard. Now we can combine those two, so soft. Yeah, so you can hear that is actually, it's given us a nice, beautiful little sound. We're going to go back here and we're going to add in an EQ as well. So now I'm just going to do a few little adjustments here. So for band 1, we're going to do that around about 100, which is what I usually do. We're going to take that down 3. We're going to reduce the boominess. So we're going to do something different. We're going to do a low shelf for this one instead of high pass. Band 2, what we're going to do is we're going to make this a peak, obviously, because we're going to be targeting the 250 range, which is something you can see that I do quite often. Q size, we'll drop that down a little bit actually. This is going to control the low-mid build-up, if that makes sense. Band 3, that's going to be another peak, and that's going to be 500. So sometimes I go around about the 500, 550 mark, and we're going to make the Q size for that one 1, I think. This is just going to clear up some of the muddiness, which we definitely don't want, and I think 3 is probably a little too aggressive for that. And then we're going to listen to that. With EQ, you should never just blindly assume that the changes you're making are going to have the impact you think, because the quad cortex doesn't actually have the visualized peak waveforms. So sometimes you just have to feel your way around. So let's listen to that. So you can hear that has made a massive improvement to our sound. Now, you can hear it on the second note that I play there. It's cleaned things up significantly. So we're almost there. Now on this one, we're going to go a peak at around about 1,500. And this is going to add some clarity. So we're actually going to boost this by 2 decibels, and Q size we'll do around about 1.4. So this is going to add a little bit more clarity to our tone now. So we're going to play it. Okay, so this sounds pretty good. I think we do need to add one more band in here. And because we did a low shelf at the start, we're going to do a high shelf up here instead. Then we're going to do this one at 4K. And I think we're going to do a high shelf about 3 decibels. This is going to brighten the tone even more. Put that one there. Let's hear how that sounds. can't think of anything cool to play. Let's compare that to the Viljada one. It's not as wet sounding. I think we're going to have to make some... We've got a nice solid like tone. We need to make it wetter. How can we make it wetter? Firstly, I want to compare... I don't want to replicate the Viljada tone 1-1, but... I don't know how to play any Viljada songs. This actually does... It does sound like it's close. So we may have to go to our compressor here. Let's set the threshold to -30 so we get a little bit more compression. Let's put the attack on 40 so it's faster. For the release, I reckon we should bump that up. So it's going to be a longer, smoother compression transition. And for the mix, let's bump that up a little bit too. So more blend of the compressed signal. Let's hear that. That's already made a huge increase to our sound. I think our plate lush reverb needs to be more pronounced. So we're going to bump that mix up. We're going to also increase the decay by another 10%. So we're really kind of increasing these a little bit more. We're going to keep LF and HF damping the same. For the mod depth, we're going to bump that up, give us more modulation. Now let's listen to this. Maybe that might be a little too much, but we'll see. Let's go 45% on the delay on our mix. On the feedback, let's bump that up another 10% too. I reckon the delay time, we'll bump that up slightly too to give it a little bit more bounce. And the mod rate, we'll put that up to 2.5 Hertz. The mod depth, we'll increase that slightly. We don't want to do too much on that. It does sound nice and wet now. Let's try putting that mod depth back on the plate reverb. What do we have? Sorry, not mod. We wanted the DK, didn't we? Let's put that back to 75, actually, because I feel like it might be overpowering just a little bit. Put that down to 60. So we turn the trails off. I think we want trails because it's a spacey tone. Maybe the decay is a little too much. I still think we want a relatively high decay though. Yeah, I think that could be... I'm pretty happy with that. Like, I think what we did was we actually kind of increased the compressor a little bit. Actually put the makeup at 0 for a second here. This might make it a lot more quieter. I think it sounds a little too spacey now. I know I sound like Goldilocks here, but it kind of sounds like it's a little overwhelming. So I think the compressor might need to go back to 25, to be honest with you. And I'm going to put the attack back up, and I think the release down to 200. We'll put the makeup at like 3.2, I think. I'm going to put the mix down at 80. I think the compressor may have just been doing a little too much. Yeah, okay. That's a little bit better. 60% on the mix might also be a little too much on our plate lush. It's just kind of overwhelming the sound. Oh, geez. We definitely had too much of the plate reverb, I think. We want it there, of course, and it's such an integral part of the sound, but I think it was too much. So let's see how this sounds. I'm happy with the delay though, I think. Let's compare that. I don't know how to play this Phil Jada song, but we can compare. Okay, so I can hear it's kind of going like... Definitely not like that, but like maybe the ping, maybe what happens if we put ping pong on? This might actually just completely overwhelm it. Actually, it's a cool sound. Okay, ping pong, definitely not. It actually sounds really good. So that kind of gets us kind of, I guess, wettish sounding delay reverb cleans. This sound is very, usually plate reverb is kind of like what you associate with this sound, but you can hear it's actually like, it's really, maybe it's not super wet. Maybe wet is not the best way to describe it, but it still has a bit of it though. We ended up with a compressor, really crucial for this type of sound. We've got the Roland Jazz Chorus, which is exceptional for cleans. Obviously, the Roland Jazz Chorus matching cabinet. We've got a plate lush reverb in there. We've got an analog delay. You could actually use a digital delay in here as well and get a similar sound. For the EQ, we did a little bit. So we cut some of that low end out there around the 100 hertz mark. And the reason we did that is to reduce boominess, so we used a low shelf for that. Then we've got 250 here, and we scooped it 2 decibels to control the low mid buildup. Band 3, we also did another cut at 500. This clears up the muddiness. At 4, we did a boost at 1500. And what this does is it just kind of adds some clarity, which you want for these. You could actually even go more if you want it more jangly. And then a higher shelf at 4K to brighten the tone as well. So can experiment with these two ones, especially if you want it to be more bright and jangly, but that is largely the tone. It's kind of, it can be whatever you want. Like everyone has a different interpretation of this, but it's this plate lush and a delay of some kind. I'm a fan of the analog, but digital will do it as well. And I imagine you could probably get a cool sound with like a dual delay or something too, or a tape delay even. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Nice quick one. I thought I'd take a break from doing tone clone recreation videos to kind of show you how to get more of a general type sound. And this may not be exactly what you want, and I understand that. And also may not be wet enough for some of you, but I think it's a good starting point for you to go forth and build your own clean, jangly, thall, djent tones. So yeah, if you liked this video, like and subscribe. If you have some feedback or there are things that you think I should have tried and we can maybe try in a future video. Let me know in the comments, take suggestions as well. If you've got any tones for particular artists you want to hear me try and copy, or there's a particular sound you're trying to get, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a song. Could be like this. It could be, a jangly djent clean, for example. Just let me know in the comments because I do take requests and always looking for new ideas. So if you made it to the end of this video, once again, I appreciate your time and I'll see you in the next one.